The Grow My Cleaning Company podcast helps owners of cleaning companies just like you to grow your company and yourself so you can make more money and finally get the time and money freedom that probably got you into this business. Discover how to automate and create systems that allow you to grow like crazy without losing control. If you dig the show and want to show some love, subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes. It really helps. Enjoy the show. Hey, Cleaning Nation. Mike Campy here with Jackson Pinky Pinkowski, one of our amazing paid traffic yahoos / guru / smart guys / whatever he wants to call himself. Today, we're going to talk about, I don't want to overstate it, so feel free to talk me down, Jackson, if I talk this up too much. What I think to be the most underused, like the biggest screaming opportunity when it comes to that's not being taken advantage of, right? Like, Facebook ads might be better, but everyone knows about that. Google ads might be better, but everyone knows about that. There's other stuff that might be quote unquote better, but everyone knows about it. This is something people know about, but don't use. And that is messaging. And messaging can be on Facebook Messenger. It can be via text. It can be, there's all sorts of ways to do it. But we went from when I was a kid, if someone called, oh my gosh, you pick up the phone because like that's the thing that's happening. To, well, now we've got caller ID and we'll see, to when someone calls you, you're like, why would you call me? It's almost like an affront or an insult. Like, why wouldn't you just text me? Like, this is insane. To texting and messaging being, I would say, the primary mode of communication, yet we still do things like let's cold call or let's email. And there's certainly a place for cold calling and email. Please don't hear me say that. But I would say the response rate on a text or a Facebook message, well, text is going to be 90, I shouldn't say response, read rate is going to be like 99%. Facebook Messenger is going to be 80%. You all know as well as I do, because you do it just like I do. If a phone number comes up that I don't recognize, my phone won't even, it just goes right to voicemail. It doesn't even show it to me anymore. And I think that's getting to be more and more common. So two things I want you to cover, if you would, Jackson. One, why do you think nobody's doing anything about it? And then two, because it seems like this big obvious thing. Why do you think what's holding people back? And then two, how can we effectively do it in a way that doesn't ruin our lives? Right? Is it something we do personally? Should we have someone on our team do it? Do we pay a company? Like, how do we do it so it isn't this overwhelming thing? All right, there you go. Go, baby.
Yeah. So like you said 99%. I think the actual stat for this year is 82 or 86%, somewhere between there.
To receive a text message on someone's phone?
We'll open it if they open it.
Oh, open it. Okay, got it.
So like if you send a text to a customer, 82% of the time they will open it.
And another percent will see it, because I still see text before I open it, and I'll open it because I want to leave it unread, because I want to deal with it later. So you still get, I think you can on the iPhone, at least you can preview the first words, which is often the whole thing.
Yeah. Deliverability of text messages is basically 100%. So there's no real spam filter or anything.
And I don't have the stats on email, but what's it got to be? 10% open rate, 20, depending on how.
19, I think, is around there, like on a good day. And that means your email goes straight to their inbox, doesn't go to spam or anything like that, which happens a lot. I mean, Gmail picks up on, we're going off a little bit, but for example, a lot of people use Gmail these days. And if you don't open an email from a company in your Gmail inbox, three times in a row, it'll start pushing to spam automatically, because it'll identify that you do not want to see that anymore. So versus a text, where if you get a text from a company, it'll come to your inbox basically every single time, right? So I think the
point isn't to knock email or any of these other things. They're still placed, but I think email marketing, there's probably even still a ton more content and focus on email marketing, which is still effective, than there is, with a 19% average open rate, than there is on text, which is 80-90%. Anyway, go ahead, buddy.
And I think a lot of people aren't doing it right now because they think it's complicated, or it's overly complicated, or they haven't collected phone numbers up to this point, right? You might have emails, or you might not have mobile numbers. And so you think, oh, well, I don't have the information ready to me, so I'm not going to, even try to go after it, right? It again becomes more complicated than they think it needs to be.
So I think that's step two. I think my fault. I should ask a better question. I think we skipped a step. So we don't have to spend a ton of time, but maybe 2 minutes, Jackson, just on because right now, and it's a gift and a curse, I get Facebook Messenger, which we have a team that handles that, thank God. I get email, I get text to my phone, which is actually unusual nowadays. I get Vox, I get Slacked. I'm not on Instagram, but my wife is constantly getting Instagram Messenger. So I guess maybe just spend a minute or two on kind of where you see today, and we're recording this, what are we at, July 2022, where kind of the biggest, most effective, because Instagram open rates, I think all of the ones I just mentioned other than email are higher than I think Instagram, Facebook, text, Slack, all the delivered, Voxer, I'm guessing they're all way higher than email. But talk to me about, do you try and do all of them? How do you, before we start talking about what's hard and how to do it, like what's it? Should we just do phone? Should we do Messenger? Should we do Instagram? Talk to me about the different platforms that you would kind of want people to be aware of.
Yeah. So really probably the three big direct message, instant message tools that most people want to use or suggest people using. It's 100% text messaging, so SMS messaging. And then the two behind it, I kind of lump them together because they're kind of the same, but Instagram and Facebook. Those are the two biggest ones. And so text messaging, kind of self-explanatory, you send people text, right? But Instagram and Facebook, you can integrate that in a variety of different ways. So you give people the opportunity to instantly message you and instantly discuss something with you or send you a message, right? And whether that's talking to you directly as a business owner or someone on the team, it gives the approachability of, hey, I can send this company a message and they'll get back to me because they'll get it like I'm sending my mom a message on Facebook or something like that, right?
And it doesn't just have to be you and a team, which is probably best. It can be a bot that says, hey, what's up? There's, you can get, we don't have to get there today, but there is the option of a lot of if they say this, then you say that. And you can set up a thing where maybe 60 or 70% of the traffic is handled by a bot. And then the rest is kind of sent to you after they're somewhat qualified. Fair, unfair?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the system can be automated up to a point where, if you start messaging, you see a lot of people just ask, like what's your pricing or how often can I get cleans? If you get like frequently asked questions right off the bat, you can typically have it so it automatically responds with what you would say. And then of course, if somebody comes out of left field and says, hey, can you get 2-day wine stains out of shag carpeting from the 60s? Well, you're not going to, your automation won't know how to answer that. So you'll get notified to step in for some weird questions like that, but it is definitely an option.
Yeah. So yeah, talk to me about text message, Facebook, Instagram. How would you deal with, especially if I'm already kind of overwhelmed, would you try and tackle all three? Just carve off one or two? How would you start?
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting because each platform can be used almost at different levels, essentially. So starting with like Facebook and Instagram, that more so can be used to reach out to potential new customers or talk to new customers, talk to people that you might not necessarily have their direct contact information, but perhaps you ran an ad or they interacted with your page and you're using that as a way to communicate, set up a call, set up a walkthrough if you're for commercial, residential, those kinds of things. And that's a way you can communicate directly with people through that platform. So say you make a post and you post a cool image or a video of your team cleaning or something, and your call to action is to send us a message to learn more. Then you use that as a line of communication with potential new clients to where you can set up a call, set up the next step basically to get more information out of them. And then from there, it opens the door to more of the SMS. Now that you have the direct information, right? You have their email, their name, what their potential job might be, and their text message. Then you're able to actually communicate with them directly on their device through their cell phone. And that can be done for trying to close new customers and for existing customers. It's extremely important to also use it for your existing customers. Something like 70% of customers love to receive appointment reminders from companies that they're doing service with, right? And this includes cleaning companies. So if you get appointment reminders through text messages, that's extremely nice for the customer. They're reminded, they'll see it. They'll see it when they wake up on the day of their service. They won't forget. They'll know you're thinking of them and trying to, continue their service and whatnot. And it's also not obtrusive. Majority of potential customers do not see text messages from businesses obtrusive. You could send a text message a day, and even I think it's like 30% say they really don't mind that much compared to like emails. People get annoyed with that. It becomes spammy. So that once you have their information, you can directly communicate with them, both leading up to them becoming a customer and then importantly, when they are a customer as well.
The only caveat I would give to that is it doesn't matter the medium, text, email, phone call, carrier pigeon. If you're adding value, you can communicate a lot more. So I think the true metric, and again, Jackson's really good with the research of, that here's the frequency on this and here's the frequency on that. But I think that just averages, because that's going to average with a bunch of companies communicating very ineffectively and then frustrating with their clients and people that are really good at it. And then you get some obscurity. So I think my rule, and feel free to override me, Jackson, if I'm insane, is regardless of the medium, and I think it's magnified with text or instant messenger because it's more direct and they get it, and there's no filter, there's no spam filter yet. I'm sure a marketers will screw it up and they'll find it. It'll be filtered at some point. So enjoy this time while it lasts. I could text them every 7 minutes if I was texting them winning lottery numbers or something that was effective in their life. I don't know that any of us are able to bring value to anybody every 7 minutes, but if we could, I think we could do that. So as long as you're focused on giving value, and every time they get a text from you or a Facebook message or an email, they're like, wow, that was really valuable to help my life. I think we can text as often as you like. The problem is I think we focus on ourselves and we text, I don't want to say stupid stuff, but stuff that we're interested in. Or, hey, we just got to get out there. Just got to, here's, it's St. Patrick's Day. Here's a gift or something that we're just trying to like check a box of, we got to, hammer these people that they don't love. But if you really like, hey, we're going to be there today and we can't wait to see, your house could be dog hair free by 3:00. Can't wait to see you today. Well, that's of interest to them. They paid you to come. You saying that you're going to be there and that you know them. That's of interest. So is it fair to say, obviously, yeah, as long as it brings value, the frequency can be almost infinite.
Yeah.
Just the problem comes in, a lot of us can't bring value that often, so the frequency goes down.
Yeah.
All right. So how do I get started? Let's say I'm like, all right. And I love what you said of let's maybe just start with Facebook, Instagram, and whatever. Because obviously for clients, we have text. So that's a fairly easy one to just set up hey, we're coming. And by the way, for all of you, 3 or 5, I think if you come more than weekly, I don't know that I'd text a reminder that we're coming, right? If it's a Monday through Friday account for commercial, I'm not like Monday night, we're coming. That will annoy them. That stops being valuable. But if it's weekly or less, I think a text would be, put yourself in your customer's shoes. So what's a good step one or a good bite-sized chunk for folk?
Yeah. So good step one, honestly, it might sound odd or obvious, but making sure that your social channels are open to receive messages. Oftentimes, I think by default it is not, and a lot of people don't it's like a little checkbox. They just don't turn it on, and then they wonder, why doesn't anybody message me? It's like, well, they legitimately can't. Yeah, Facebook does not let them do it, and that's just a privacy thing that they set up a couple years ago. So you just want to make sure that you're actually open to receiving those. And then also, I would say within that, building, some form of like quick and easy steps, because usually when people take the initiative to come out and message you, they're putting in the effort they got to your page and they clicked the button that said send a message. You want to give them a couple options right off the bat of like, what's the next step? Like, I would love, thanks so much for reaching out. What kind of questions do you have? That kind of thing. So you do have that little bit of automated system set up for them. And then from there, we hark on the paid side of things, running paid ads and getting some additional traffic to you. There's an amazing campaign that Facebook allows you to do where you design an ad, and the whole goal of that ad, the whole objective is to get people to message you directly. And it's a very effective ad. A lot of people have a lot of great success with it because the way Facebook operates, obviously, if you think about it, Facebook loves to keep people within the Facebook ecosystem. It wants to keep people on Facebook.com, right? And so if you think about it, when you click an ad, you're sending that person away. So Facebook is struggling a little bit more to convince people to leave, which ends up costing you more money to push people away to an outside site. Versus if you do a messenger campaign, it's all kept within the Facebook ecosystem. Facebook tends to charge less for that. It ends up costing you less. And so your cost to get a customer through that is a lot cheaper. And they're a lot more engaged because they're actively talking with you, actively speaking with you. And so that would be the next step at that point for like the Facebook and Instagram. And that goes for both platforms because they're the same, right?
So really quick, because Jackson's by far the expert on the platforms, and I like to kind of give general marketing stuff because I want you guys to think about things right as much as I want you to execute. So the first scenario, Jackson said, I give you money. You allow for every time someone clicks away from your site to my landing page or my call to action or my website. That's kind of a win-lose draw. It's win for me because I get a click of someone that's interested because they clicked on my ad, right? It's not just a stranger. Facebook, I guess it's kind of a win, but because they get money, but it's a loss because they leave. And then it's a draw for the client because like, well, I was here looking at pictures of kittens or for my, some funny meme or whatever. And now I got to go to this other thing. And I clicked it. So I do want that information, but it's a draw because I'm like, I didn't know that I wanted to go all in at that moment. Whereas this internal Facebook thing is kind of a win-win-win. So you win because you still get the engagement that you want. And I don't think we're not YouTube, right? If we're YouTube, we're like, oh no, I want those eyeballs. And I do want them to leave that site and come to my site. We're in the eyeballs game. But in the cleaning company business, we are not in the eyeballs game. We're in the cleaning game. So we don't really care if we get a bunch of eyeballs on our thing. We just want to be able to open that conversation. So we win because we can get them to raise their hand and say, here's my problem, here's my whatever. And then you can kind of maybe ping them at a different time, which is actually better, right? If I'm scrolling through, I shouldn't say it's better, but if I'm scrolling through Facebook stuff right now and I ping you, right now I'm interested. So that time's very good, but I'm also in the middle of doing a bunch of other things because I'm on Facebook. Later, I may not be as interested, but I may also not be looking with all the things going on in Facebook. So I think it's a win for the customer because they can say, hey, I want to raise my hand and maybe deal with that thing later. Right now I'm looking at, memes. It's a win for Facebook because they can keep on their platform so you get it cheaper. And that's a win for us because we get it cheaper and we give better customer service potentially, and we can probably get more opt-ins. Is that a fair analysis of how people should think about it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Absolutely. And I like the paid, but let's talk organic. Because I think really all we're doing is you're gonna spend time or money on marketing. So if it's money, you go Facebook. I don't want to wade through the millions of people online and find out who wants my crap. And would you do it for me? Facebook's like, absolutely, $5 a click or whatever it works out to be.
$5 a click. Oof.
Well, it depends on the click. And if you're selling, if you're part of a class action suit for some sort of weird disease, $5 a click is a gift. If you're, doing other stuff, that's expensive. So it could be anything. Jackson's mad at me because I don't think we pay anywhere. We would have our people pay anywhere near that. But anyway, that said, organic. Yes. A lot of people are overwhelmed. And again, Facebook, I feel like they're my favorite frenemy. They really do have a lot of opportunity. We spend a lot of money. We make a lot of money on Facebook, but I don't think their first and foremost deal is to deliver you value. They want to get your money. And I think they want to give you value, but that's certainly not their first primary deal. So when you're a little guy and we spend, I don't know, anywhere between $10,000 and probably $50,000 a month, and we're tiny to them, right? They still are much more interested in Apple, Coca-Cola. So we're not a big fish and we spend a lot. If you guys are spending like a $20 a day budget, they couldn't give, no offense, folks, they don't give two craps about me. They don't give one crap about you, right? They're just super into their own thing. So my fear with paid is if you're not working with someone that knows what they're doing, it's hard. And if your budget's $20 or $30 a day, you can't really afford someone that knows what they're doing because it's not enough. So you're kind of stuck in a spot. So not to say that paid is bad. It just, if you don't know what you're doing and you have a low budget, you're kind of like, they say if you sit down at a poker table and you don't know who the chump is, you're probably the chump. If you sit down at a Facebook thing with a $10 a day ad budget and you're not an expert, you're probably their chump. So not knocking paid, it's great. But for those that are like, I don't want to be a chump, organic, you're going to have to do the time, right? You can say, all right, Facebook, I'll spend the time to weed through and go through and add value and blah, 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 blah. Walk me through what that might look like for someone. And by the way, guys, gals, say you spend 10, 15 hours a week on this for the first month. If that, I know it sounds like a lot. You're like, I can't do that. Well, maybe for a couple of weeks, but then you can hire someone. So this is a skill that you can learn and kind of get set up like anything else in your business and then turn it over to someone else. So what might that look like if I'm like, I don't want to spend any money. I don't trust Facebook. They're going to screw me. I'm a lamb going to the shear over here. How can I just start a conversation organically through the channels that we were through? Let's just specifically talk Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah. So I don't know, probably like 4 years ago, organic Facebook, really extremely difficult to do, paid all the way. Like you could sell ice to Eskimos through paid Facebook ads. They since have made a pivot. In my tinfoil hat conspiracies, they made a ton of money off ads, and then they started branching off into these other areas, and they're scaling back on how effective ads are. but then they're transforming the platform back into that organic push that does well. And so the big thing with organic pushes or doing anything organically through Facebook, Instagram, number one thing I'll tell everybody is consistency. Consistency is always key. When I talk about consistency, I mean consistency with posts, whether it be text-based, image-based, video-based, it doesn't matter. But if you say I'm going to post 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you post 3 times a week indefinitely. You continuously do that, because Facebook, Instagram awards consistency over anything else, over quality, over messaging, over your following.
You had it at quality. If they're like, we'll take garbage quality consistent, I mean, that's saying it's a mouthful. Yeah. Quick hack for that, guys. Jackson's thing is perfect 3 times a week. That's 4 points. It's 13 posts per month. Easiest, best way, just an hour a month, 2 hours a month. First of the month, just be like, I'm going to make my 13 posts. And again, text, video, memes, whatever you want to do, but just create them all right then and there. And then you're that way. You're not like, oh my God, it's Wednesday. What do I do? You can spend a couple hours one time. So that batching will go a long way. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah. So consistency is key, because what Facebook's going to start doing is you've got your service bubble, right? So you say, let's say you service Los Angeles. Or let's say even more specifically, let's say you service Burbank in Los Angeles. And so your post, the more consistent you go with it, the more people in Burbank are going to see it. The more people not necessarily affiliated or even heard of your business before are going to start seeing it, because Facebook's going to start pushing it out, because it realizes, hey, you're consistent. Hey, you're putting content out. Hey, you're putting value out. This is perceived value that we see for the people on the platform. So we're going to let more people see it without you even having to spend any money, without you having to do anything. And that's because it's consistent. And I wish I could explain exactly how that works. I can't. That's $1 million question that Facebook hides behind their blast doors. But it is what it is. That's how it operates. So you'll see, as you start to post more and more consistently, you'll start getting more views, more eyeballs, more people to your page that wouldn't have necessarily heard of you before, right?
So in the time that we've got, and that's perfect, how do we convert those? Let's say we're posting consistently and it's decent content. And by the way, practice is the best way. It's okay if you put out some content and you suck at the beginning, no one's paying attention. As you grow an audience, you'll get better at it. So let's say we've now got a decent audience, and maybe even, my wife's got a little Moms Love Guns channel that I think she's got 1,000 followers. I think we've got 10,000 on ours. I think her audience is as valuable, if not more so than ours, because they're so freaking interactive. They just love her. So how do you take, even if you've got 253 followers, right? We're like, oh, I don't have enough. Like, well, if they're interactive, that can be great. How do you turn whatever your number of followers are into a conversation? What's the best way to turn that corner?
Consistent call to action.
Okay.
Right. That's basically, you don't want to do it on every single thing. You're not pushing, it's not a sales. Every post, everything has the same call to action, right? But you want to be consistent in what you're doing. So say if you post 3 times a week, let's say Monday and Friday, you have your call to action to send a message, to learn more, to talk with, like if you do a post on how it is to be a small owned business in Burbank, California, you can open it up and be like, hey, send us a message to learn more on what it's like to own a business here. You have those consistent call to actions that get people to come to the page, get people to come message you, and then that spurs into further conversation.
When I think they should, and please tell me if I'm, because Jackson knows best practice for social way better than I do. I think everything should have a call to action.
Yeah. Yeah.
But only 10% of those call to actions are call me to buy something. It could be, caption this picture. That's a call to action. It's just engagement. Like this post if you dig it, leave me a comment if you don't, and tell me what you really want. Vote for our new mascot. Like there should always be a call to action, and maybe 1 in 10 or 2 in 10 is call for a deal, or let's talk about somehow buying the product. And the cool thing, just like Jackson said, is if you have, let's say you're doing 5 a week, well, every Monday could be a caption this picture, every Tuesday could be vote on this thing, you can really, once you kind of have a system, and I don't think people are really going to pick up on it. If they do, they'll just think, wow, they're organized. If they don't, they're still going to go, wow, it makes it so much easier for you. All right.
Exactly.
As is our custom, Jackson, that we picked a 6-hour topic and try to jam it in 20 minutes. So give us the final wrap it up of what you have for the good folks in Cleaning Nation, and we'll call it.
Well, if you're listening to this, get started today. There's no time like the present. There's no bad time to start. There's no good time to start, or the best time to start is right now. You finish this podcast episode, you've got some marching orders. I would get started, put your first piece of content out there today and have fun with it. Don't take yourself too seriously.
Couldn't say it any better. Absolutely the truth. If you'd like more help, growmycleaningcompany.com. We've got tons of content on how to do this and everything else. Growmycleaningcompany.com. Check it out now. There's your call to action. See you soon. Well, here we are, the end of the podcast, and you made it. Great job. I've got a little bonus for you for sticking through with me, but like I mentioned before, if you got value out of this podcast and you want to show a little love, subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes, Spotify, wherever the heck you're listening to this thing. Share it with a friend, share the love. And as a special thank you for those of you that stuck with me to the end, how about I give you my personal phone number so we can text? It's a great way for me to get to know you, your business, your goals personally. So shoot me a text now, 602-932-6431. That's 602-932-6431. I am the only one who responds to these texts, and I will personally respond to everyone I possibly can as long as this number is manned. Don't know how long we're going to keep this at the end of the podcast, so grab it now, 602-932-6431. Give me a text, say hey, can't wait to meet you.